was definitely coming in with an open mind saying, whoever I'm going to meet. And if they need a drummer, I'm going to be as available as I can make myself and just be a team player.
Welcome, everybody, to the Nashville Drummers Podcast, episode 31.
Our guest today is Perry Dornbush, hailing from New York, and has been in Nashville about 4 to 5 years now.
Perry's a great dude, and this is one of those cases where the conversation just flowed so naturally and easily. It's just a regular conversation, which happens to feature talks about drumming and musical things. We nerded out about some prog stuff for a minute. I have to say, because I take notes every podcast, and my favorite note from this one was Alt Expera Funkadelia. You'll hear me react to that.
Yeah, and that's in reference to his band Spirits Republic, which they have a new single that is either out now or will be very soon. Mm-hmm. So definitely check out the band.
And they have a show at the Cobra on May 20th. So
yeah,
I think this will be out before then.
Yeah.
So go to that show.
One of the takeaways for me, at least, I really appreciated his perspective on just him as a drummer and kind of balancing that with a 9-to-5 and sort of choosing to pursue other interests, and how he's so comfortable with that and doesn't seem to be affected by maybe different peer pressure, and especially in this town, when you're not a full-time, quote-unquote, touring drummer.
Right.
I experienced this where I find myself having to answer, well, what is it that I am doing? Mm-hmm. And it was really cool hearing Perry as someone that just is kind of following his childhood dream, is still playing in an original rock band, but he's balancing that with some other interests, even in the industry, and he's super happy doing that and inspiring others in other ways besides behind the drums.
Yeah. It's important to remember, and this definitely comes up when we talk about it at length, but just because you play drums and you love drums does not mean that you must play them for a living. That doesn't have to be the thing. You can just love playing drums. That's totally great, and I'm super supportive of anybody doing that. Oh yeah, and we've got shirts. We got hoodies.
And we have tank tops.
That's right. And soon we'll have hats. And we got little magnets with our logo on them. They're cool. I was like, let me see if this magnet really magnets. And it do.
They're not like the best magnets in the world, but...
No, they're literally the best magnets in the world, Dan.
Okay, Nate. I mean, I'm looking at one now. It's stuck to the fridge, so I guess it's doing its job.
It's doing its job.
But yeah, we have merch. You'll see a lot of this merch out in public soon at different events. But for now, if you'd like one, definitely send a message to the podcast Instagram or Nate or myself if you see us in person too, and we'll get one over to you as soon as we can.
Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to thank our newest sponsor, Drumbox, Nashville's newest practice space for drummers. Hey drummers, do you need a place in Nashville to practice on actual drums? Drumbox is Nashville's newest drum practice studio. Book sessions online and get the space to yourself. It's fully equipped with 2 kits, cymbals, hardware, and even sticks are provided. 30-minute, 1-hour, and 2-hour sessions are available at www.drumbox.space and use the coupon code NDP25 for 25% off your first session. Again, that's www.drumbox.space.
As long as you've seen all the drum-related media, Drumline,
That's
Rocker. No.
Yeah, that's the really important one, Drumline.
Yeah. No. It's the most accurate depiction.
Whiplash.
Yeah. Whiplash. You know what?
Whiplash.
Hot take. Because it's very popular for drummers and musicians to just hate on Whiplash. I'm going to take a stand right here. That's a good movie.
Absolutely.
That is a great movie.
You can still be negative towards parts of it and still like it.
I think one of the things that's hard for drummers to do with that movie is to suspend disbelief, which, by the way, scientists have to do almost every time they watch a movie, especially any kind of sci-fi. They're like, hey,
yeah,
what the hell are you guys actually talking about? This is just total nonsense.
That's the best. My fiance is getting her PhD in biochemistry at Vanderbilt, and I am just like a huge Michael Crichton, Jurassic Park,
man.
sci-fi nerd. And she's like, I will enable you to keep having your childhood joys, but I will not. It's like, I understand why it's not possible to bring the dinosaurs back.
Right.
So.
Totally. Well, that's the thing. And that's the joy of it. That's why I'm like, when I hear a drummer hating on that's not how you do that. Like, yeah, I know. Do what the rest of people who are professionals in their field have to do every time they see their profession in a movie. Ignore the stuff that doesn't make sense and focus on the movie.
Right.
It's a movie.
It's a movie.
Right, yeah.
At least Miles Teller has a drumming background.
Right.
So.
Right, at least he can actually play them.
You know what?
That's cool.
First saw that movie in college. I think I was a senior, and I'll never forget. It was a snowstorm in Oneonta, New York, and yeah, I think I walked away from the movie thinking like, okay, this movie kind of sucks, but it lit a fire under my ass. Like I drove in the snowstorm to the practice room, and just started shedding. I was like, holy shit, I want to play right now.
Yeah.
Did you guys feel that after watching it?
Not to Caravan, but definitely something a bit more.
I just felt inspired. I was like,
Yeah. You know what?
Balls to the wall.
Yeah, there's something about that kind of character, and there's a true relatability to being put in a situation with a person that's kind of a nut job, but that does make you better. That's what good coaches do sometimes.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, that guy was an asshole and made me so much better at whatever. Like, oh, yeah, man, I had this crazy boxing coach. Yeah. How long did you train with him? 3 years. I bet you were a beast at the end of that 3 years, huh? Yeah. I was like, see, were they that crazy? Maybe, but did they push you along the way? I don't know.
Well, it seems you need like that friction to improve on anything, right? It can't just be smooth sailing. Like you're not actually growing. There has to be pain, right?
Yes.
Not to get all philosophical, but
right. Well, literally,
it's like going to the gym.
You don't grow in your comfort zone. Period. That's however much you can step out of your comfort zone and survive. Is how much you can grow. If you're just perfectly in it, then you won't grow. And if you're 100% outside of your comfort zone, where you literally die, you also don't grow. So it's having 1 foot in comfort and safety, and 1 foot in chaos. That's the growth zone.
Yep.
So Perry, where are you in your comfort zone right now?
In my comfort zone, I am happy to be here. I know we've had a minute or two just figuring out everyone's schedules. And
yes, as it always is.
But we're here.
We're here. We're alive, doing the thing.
Cheers to that.
Yes.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for the whiskey.
Our pleasure.
Of course.
I'm bummed I missed. So Nathan had a show last night at
East Room.
At East Room with Crusade.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't make it, but I'm glad you were able to go.
Yeah, once I saw that it was announced, I was like, well, I know this is the day that we were supposed to record, but I'm going to be at the show anyway.
We should have done it at the show.
That would have been awesome.
Backstage.
What backstage? In the bathroom lobby?
No.
Yeah, we could have done it outside.
True.
And listen to the other bands on the speaker, made commentary. That'd been great.
I'd never seen Archeons before.
They were really good, man.
Their drummers on it.
I was digging their actually, and I was hanging outside with my friend Casey, who's a sick vocalist. He he used to sing for Periphery.
Oh, Casey Sable.
Yeah. And he was sitting outside and listening, and he was just like, dude, this vocalist is awesome. He's like, I need to go meet that guy. I'm like, yeah. If I were a vocalist and that guy was like, yo, you're sick, I think I might vomit out of joy. But yeah, that's the story of last night. And the show went really well.
Yeah, great turnout.
Crowd super responsive. And obviously that's the thing when you're playing any kind of original music, you want to see smiles on people's faces, not just
just staring.
Like
Yeah.
Singing along.
You guys get moshers? Is it that kind of a show?
We could, but we did not.
Gotcha.
I could foresee certain sections and certain tunes there's one section in a song we have called Codename It that for sure is conducive to moshing. It's just
Absolutely.
like really fast in your face, aggressive double bass kind of stuff, very heavy. And in our newest single, betrayal. There's another section that's like, if I was in the audience rather than in the band, I would be like, I need to shove the person next to me.
Yeah, there were definitely some photographers and videographers that I felt like were keeping that from happening.
Okay.
But,
yes,
at the same time, there was one guy, I think it was the bass player of Hard Reset, I forget his name, but he was doing some cartwheels and fun stuff at the end of Eugen's.
Oh yeah. Somebody did a spin kick.
That was him.
Oh, that was him.
Yeah, and he knocked into
Nick Mills.
Yeah,
and Nick Mills went home rather than beating the shit out of him, which is a good call.
Yeah.
He was like, and I don't know if you know Nick, but he's just like a freaking big old ginger Viking looking dude.
Yeah, large.
Like, I should have kicked the shit out of that guy. I'm like, go home, Nick. let him live.
Sunday.
Yeah, it's like not a guy you want to kick in the face.
Yeah. Definitely not.
All right. Well, segue there. For those that don't know you, they definitely will after the end of this interview, but you're the drummer for local band here in town, Spirits Republic.
Indeed. Yeah.
Kind of tell the good people about that band and kind of, what you guys are up to.
Absolutely. So Spirits Republic, we're a 3-piece Altic Spera Funkadelia band, which is a term coined by Russell, our vocalist and guitarist.
I'm writing that down just so you know. I'm going to be taking notes.
Okay. Is that what it says on your Instagram bio for the band? Okay.
Yeah. It was a term he coined for. So do you remember Rudamaya up in Oneonta?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah.
So that he coined with that group in, I want to say, like 2015 or so. And then he and Taylor, were two of the founding members of Spirits in 2016. I joined the band in 2019. So Russell's fiance and I went to college together. When I moved down here, I was just like reaching out to people I know, just like, can I see some local shows? I know your boyfriend's in a band. So we went to a house show, checked him out. He's like, we need to jam sometime because I know we listen to a lot of similar stuff and I'm not loving our current drummer situation. So I think I'm drummer number 8 or 9 overall, but I've been in the band longer now than any of their previous drummers.
Yeah, it seems like, because I've been to a fair amount of your shows, like you guys gel really well. Like,
I like
the guy
to think
now,
so. I mean, we start every practice with a 15, 20-minute jam just to get all the feelings and residual influences out there. So sometimes it'll sound like Wolfpack, sometimes it'll sound like Mastodon.
Yep.
It's just a matter of what the flavor of the week is, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we're all over the place. We're ADHD music, definitely.
Okay, when are you playing next?
We have our EP release show on May 20th.
Okay, I'm just putting all these.
It's a Saturday at the Cobra, free show in the front room.
I want to make sure that this sounds like my
dude. Yeah, if you've never seen them,
okay.
I mean, I want to get into that genre and being in that original band in Nashville. And same with you, Nate, because that's like you guys are kind of the minority in some ways. But like, how was it coming here and not doing the country thing?
I mean, I just had a very specific goal of what I wanted to do when I moved here, and that was playing original music with musicians that I knew I could gel with, because prior to moving here, so kind of a timeline, graduated Syracuse University in 2016, studied initially broadcast journalism, and then went to like an audio production route for television, radio, and film. So working in music licensing, publishing, vinyl distribution, like every odd job I just wanted to try out as much as I could, learn as much as I could. And my last job before moving here was doing marketing for a music venue on Long Island. And then, turned 25, had my quarter life crisis, was like living at home, saving up for the 3 years between college and moving here. And, while I was on Long Island, I was playing in a pop punk band that was, all originals, but sounded like covers.
There was a pop punk band on Long Island? That's so weird.
Yeah, it was called Breakout Day. And we did a lot of Sum 41,
yes.
Blink.
Roots, baby.
Yeah, Green Day, all the fun stuff. And I enjoyed it. I mean, it was definitely a great way to just, because I really didn't play in college. I really was like very focused on kind of morphing into this media sort of personality, but I wanted that drumming itch scratched. And I didn't really I mean, I jammed with friends informally. I had a kit in my house off campus, but I didn't play in any dedicated projects. I would help friends, do some recordings at the communication school studio here and there, but ultimately just wanted that sense of, I'm going to go out and play shows. We're going to go take a weekend and drive into rural Pennsylvania and play at a buddy's house, and then go back through New Jersey and play in Hoboken and Brooklyn and wherever else they'll have us.
Yep.
So many of those venues aren't even around anymore. It's really sad.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, long story
short. Did you
short.
ever do Funk and Waffles? Syracuse?
Never got to Funk and Waffles.
No.
So Funk and Waffles downtown was like just starting out
Okay.
as I was there. I went to Friends shows up there and loved it. And the one by campus was mostly like acoustic acts. So I had friends who I had done recordings with as a drummer, but they were doing kind of solo acoustic stuff. Funk and Waffles, for those listening who don't know, is
That's also me. Yeah.
It was started in Syracuse by two guys who were just throwing house parties, making waffles, and had bands coming through. And they're like, we should combine live music and waffles for the people.
Proposition. Yeah.
What more could you ask for?
I mean, fried chicken with it.
Oh, yeah. The Northerners, I guess, they didn't have that same vision. But yeah, Funk and Waffles, Nashville edition.
We should start a restaurant.
Dude. So, okay, so I was thinking...
Punkin' Waffles.
Funk and Waffles. I was thinking like Funkin'.
Yeah, FUNK''N Waffles.
Okay.
It's thinking like Telefunkin' Waffles.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, either way, I was
German
like,
waffles.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so where was I getting at? So yeah, moved down to Nashville, 2019, was craving just playing with musicians that I felt like I could learn a lot from and could tell me that I am a shit drummer and just make me humble, because I was definitely getting a little bit of an ego just being a prog nerd in a pop punk band. And I knew that it wasn't going to work out long term.
Yeah.
So
how did you land on Nashville though? From New York and playing that kind of music?
yeah, so I definitely was just well tuned and knew that friends of mine from college were starting to move down here, and high school too even.
There's a lot of New Yorkers here.
A lot of New Yorkers. Spring break, senior year, my buddies and I piled into a Kia Rondo and drove the 14 hours from Syracuse down to Nashville, St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Wow.
And it was that trip that really cemented the fact that I have to live here at some point. Even if it's well into my later years, I'll kick myself if I never, take that leap of faith and see what it's all about.
What was, for everyone, it's a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
What was it for you that coming here, you're like, oh, I need that?
I had the unique experience of being able to hop on drums at Rippy's on St. Patrick's Day. My friends all vouched for me. They're like, he's like a pretty decent drummer. And they even said yes to the song. It's like, you're going to play Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin. I was like, I'm going to do that because I have liquid courage.
Yeah, I was going to
Because I went to the Islanders-Predators game earlier that evening and watched my home team.
So you're feeling good.
Yeah, I was like, well, they lost. So I was like, all right, I need to do something. Yeah, I need to do something to get my spirits up here. So, yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow, I'm able to do this. Have I played on Broadway since that moment? No, but just the ability to be like, all right, people I'll probably never see again. Let me just see if I'm capable of getting up in front of strangers in a city I've never been to before. And, it's that fight or flight response that kicks in that I think too many of us don't test as often as we should. And
good point.
Yeah, it was just that. A combination of knowing that I didn't want to live in New York City in a shoebox like so many friends of mine were. And shout out to them. A lot of them are now past that point and have started, great professional careers, but I just knew that wasn't it for me. And I just wanted a culture change. I really wanted a slower pace of life. I wanted appreciation for just good music, good people, good food, good surrounding nature. Yeah. Being 10, 15 minutes from all this greenery that we have around us, I think does wonders for the mind and soul.
Yeah, it really does.
Definitely agree.
Well, and I understand that pace of life thing because while I've never lived in New York, I have visited twice.
You were just up there, right?
I was just up there. And in the first couple of hours of being there, just walking around, going to get some Joe's Pizza, my wife, you need to understand, neither of us have ever done coke. But she looks around and she goes, it makes sense to me now why people do cocaine when they're in New York. And I was like, yeah, there's just so much going on. Everything is happening all at once, and I bet these people are just feeling like, I got to be involved in all of it. And there's not enough time, and I don't have enough energy, so I need to do it all fast. and let's go.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's like leveling the playing field for yourself.
right. Which is what I'm like, I've laughed because I've had people tell me that. Yeah, like I had a friend tell me, I only really do coke if I'm in New York and I need to be out all night drinking. I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? Just go to sleep. Like, just go to sleep.
The city doesn't do that.
Right.
It's their claim to fame. They don't do it. They don't do the
So you
sleep.
mentioned Joe's. That's my favorite spot. Do you have a favorite New York spot? I'm guessing on the island.
Ooh, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely don't go into the city as much when I'm home because my folks moved further out east on the island. So it took a 35-minute train ride into an hour. So there's so many good ones.
Yeah.
But I will say just in the Penn Station, because I feel like that's the nexus between Long Island and the city. I mean, just like even Rose's, just crappy slice with a $4 tall boy. Just get in there.
Yep.
You can't beat it.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll never have that value
Authentic.
anywhere else. Because the second you step foot outside of Penn Station, I mean, you can find the dollar slices here and there,
Right.
but I'm not a pizza snob. Like, I
Okay.
came to Nashville, people are like, what's the pizza like? Are you miserable? Is the pizza terrible? I'm like, mellow mushroom's fine with me. I don't have
mellow mushrooms
qualms.
great. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
expensive, but it's great.
Yeah. Joey's, which I don't believe is around
Yeah, I
anymore.
never got to go there, unfortunately.
Yeah, Russell introduced me to that place
Yep.
on the south side.
Yeah.
And then there's Bellagio, kind of off of West End, which I like.
Yeah.
How
How do you feel about 5 Points?
5 Points is great.
Okay.
I have no qualms with 5
Yeah,
Points
one of my
east or
favorites,
west.
Yep.
I feel like that's definitely the safe answer
Yeah.
as far as just notoriety.
Yeah, I've always been a fan. I just had one the other day. A friend ordered some for all of us, and I went and picked it up. Meatball pie, and it just had so much garlic on it, and it reminded me of this place from back in my hometown called Wall Street Pizza that you would go in and you just like immediately felt soaked in garlic scent.
Yep.
And it was like, this must be what it's like to walk into the gates of heaven. It's just like, I love garlic.
I do. I feel like in many ways, and my fiance was telling me this, that she's like, I think I can admit that garlic is an aphrodisiac for me. Like,
Yeah.
there's something it does, and it's polarizing. People are turned off by garlic and onion scent. She's like, no, that's the perfume I want to wear.
I think when it's coming out of your mouth, it's a turnoff. But when it's coming from food that you're going to put into your mouth,
True.
it's like, yeah, I would do dirty things to you. Pizza.
Clove by clove.
It's just a thing. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I'm with you.
Pop punk and pizza, I feel like, just go hand in hand in so many ways. So I would say, like, during those, there's a place in Brooklyn called Vinny's that one of our friends in another band who we were tight with, he worked there. So he would always just come through the gigs, just pie in hand. And those were the days. Being a greasy 20-year-old,
Yep.
covering
Eat
some
whatever you
41,
want.
just eating pizza,
Oh, those are great times. I know what you mean.
right?
Yeah.
Really is.
Yeah.
What's like the food that you would associate with progressive rock or metal? Would it be like, it has to be something a little sophisticated, but I don't know.
I mean,
That's the question.
there's half of me that wants to be like, well, you
Let me pull out my monocle and
yeah, a ribeye and a nice red. But then on the other hand, there's like,
It's actually Taco Bell.
yeah, it's probably Taco Bell. Yeah, exactly. Like, well, what food do I associate with playing music and being poor? Yeah, we're going Taco Bell's the right answer, I think. Cookout if you're lucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about an odd time signature and not knowing when your bodily countdown is going to be like 5, 4, 3,
Right.
2, 1. Get me out of here.
Serving the Nashville, Brentwood, and Franklin areas, Music Lab Nashville offers comprehensive hands-on music lessons in contemporary techniques and styles. Students learn from the most qualified instructors in state-of-the-art practice and performance settings. All ages, all styles, all levels. Visit nashville.musiclab.co to learn more and to sign up for a free trial lesson. Dude, speaking of the math rock, what in that realm trips your trigger that maybe most people wouldn't have heard of?
Well, you've had the drummer of CNVAR on here, right? I was going to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joseph Arrington.
Yeah. I guess of the bands that kind of were, because my whole maturation with like the punk into the metal and all that, math rock was kind of something I discovered a bit later. I had my first roommate in Nashville, who I met through my fraternity in college, has one of the biggest obsessions with Dance Gavin Dance that you'll ever see. So like knowing that whole swan core type of Dance Gavin Dance, Hail the Sun. I'm missing other obvious ones that are escaping me right now, but just
Stolas.
Yep. Just those level of, because I feel like a lot of the times when I was jamming just with friends, I was jamming with guitar players more than bass players. So trying to mirror what they were doing on guitar, I felt like led to more involved drum parts.
Yeah.
And so that genre definitely caters to that. I find a lot of tremolo picking.
It does.
And once you get your feet incorporated, I was doing double bass starting around like 13, 14. I know it was before I started driving a car, because the first time I got behind a car, behind the wheel of a car, I put one foot on each pedal, and my dad was like, no way.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's
it's like
just
maybe the way
asking.
your brain works, but that's not going to fly.
Yeah.
I am a lefty by trade, so I do play open-handed because my drum teacher growing up presented me with an ultimatum and said that you could either be difficult and mirror your drums, or I can teach you to play like Billy Cobham in a sense. Not
It's quite
of the quality,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
definitely, because I was getting a lot of crap from jazz bands and stuff being open-handed as a kid. They were trying to just convince, because I was young, just starting out. They're like, all right, he's clearly not comfortable. He's just kind of doing what feels right as opposed to what is technically correct, I believe.
Yeah.
Right.
My drum teacher was like, clearly they don't know about Billy Cobham.
Right.
I don't know about
Phillips.
Simon Phillips.
Or like,
Yeah.
Sean Drover.
The list goes on and on. That's ridiculous. That's so. I still find it so weird how many drummers today are resistant to the open-handed thing. And there are some who even like will actively talk about like there's no reason to do that. Like there's no reason.
Can't give me one reason.
You can't think of one reason to play open hand. I can think of a lot of them like immediately. It's very obvious how this could benefit you. Maybe there's a benefit to being like this, but the benefits to being like this are right there.
Yeah.
It's low-hanging fruit. Oh, I can play opposing syncopations and not hit my sticks together? Yes. Wow. Oh, I can keep the time on the hat and I can play fills on the toms with my right hand? Who knew?
Yeah.
Well, like you said, it's probably part of how we're all brought up playing the drums in those early years,
Definitely.
Maybe it's gotten better now, but I don't think I was ever really exposed to playing open-handed.
I think it's just, I don't know the common thread of how many drummers start it. I don't know if, many come from just being left-handed naturally, and that's just how it progresses, but it's never too late,
So how important, just going back to like your early years, were you always a drummer? How important was education and like doing lessons for
Interestingly enough, my first ever instrument that I took formal lessons in was violin.
Whoa.
My parents were all about the Suzuki method in the late 90s, early 2000s. And, it got to the point where the shrill screeching sound of violin strings, my mom was like, you know what? I'm getting a migraine from this. You might as well play drums because I know that you want to play drums and I know that you are committed to taking lessons. So I started off on just a practice pad, straight up, just for a year of that, doing Ted Reed's syncopation.
Yep.
And once I proved to my folks that I could be consistent and, form a disciplined practice method with that, they're like, all right, for your 6th birthday, we'll get you like a starter drum set. And then just progressed onto that. So still with the same book, Ted Reed, just, all right, we're doing snare, left tom, right tom, floor tom.
And what was your first kit?
First kit was a Cosmic Percussion black. I have pictures of it.
It's first.
Yeah.
I don't think it exists anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure it was some like guitar.
So are we talking
center
like 5-piece or like an earlier like?
It was
it was
a 5-piece.
Okay.
Snare, 2 racks, kick and a floor, and a hi-hat, and then one lone ride crash cymbal on my right side. So
Utility, baby.
Utility, absolutely.
Get that crash and that ride in one cymbal. It's all you need.
a Sabian B8.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. So
Dude, and I remember that whole thing. Like, do you remember having this in your brain, seeing the B8s and I know these are like beginner cymbals, and then seeing like the B8 Pros and be like, that's what the pros are playing. Yeah, the B8 Pros.
I still have a B8 on my kit, but it's a China Splash. It's not one of the main cymbals. It's just like a little effects guy.
Nice.
So I've been a Sabian guy my whole life. I know it's obviously not Meinl, it's not Peisty, Zildjian, but there's just something about the consistency. I can't quit you, Sabian.
Something does it for you, man.
It's the hockey, probably. Neil Peart, maybe.
Mike Portnoy.
Portnoy.
Ah, there you go.
That might be it.
Yeah.
That's how important influencers are, and like that's why brands...
From a Long Island Jewish drumming perspective, Mike Portnoy, way too similar.
Long Island Jewish drumming hero.
Yep.
Mike Portnoy. He's from Long Island? No. He's a hero to Long Island Jewish drummers, is what I'm saying.
He is from Long Island.
Is he from Long Island?
Long Beach, yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Well, who knew?
Dream Theater has that interesting connection between Boston because they all formed at Berkeley and Long Island because 3 out of the 4 founding members.
So Mike and who else?
Mike was from Long Beach. John Petrucci and John Mayung were both from Smithtown.
All right. So yeah, Rudess is not from there.
He is actually. He's from Great Neck, but he was not an original member.
Gotcha.
Kevin Moore, who was their key player, I think was from like the Hudson Valley, I want to say.
All right, so here's a question. Since Mike is clearly an influence, and Dream Theater in general, where do I jump off with Dream Theater to really start diving in? Because I've in little bits and pieces been like, I dig some Dream Theater. Some of the stuff has been a miss for me, but I want to give it a real chance. I really got into Liquid Tension Experiment.
Excellent.
That was formative for me.
Okay.
But Dream Theater itself, no, not so much.
So that era of late 90s, because I think, LTE3 came out, I want to say like within the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as 1 and 2, I would say start with Scenes from a Memory.
Okay.
Part 2,
I'm
1999. That's where Dance of Eternity is, and you've got to have heard that song before.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So as a concept album, I think that really was their magnum opus in terms of being like, hey, we can have a concept, we can have a wide array of songs that are appealing to all different types of music aficionados. And that was Jordan Rudess's first album with the band.
Gotcha.
So that's really where the core of Dream Theater at its best started, in my humble opinion.
Okay. I love it, man. Yeah.
I love it all. I love the whole discography from their like 1989, even their Majesty demos, because they just sound like the perfect hybrid of Iron Maiden and Rush.
Yeah.
Dude, I really have been meaning. I know the thing is because I care about progressive music.
And you're in a band with Mike. So.
Right, yeah. And he's obviously a big Dream Theater guy. Although one thing I do love about Mike is he's never a simp for any of the music. He's always like, yeah, this is really good. And then he'll like, if he thinks something is lame, he'll just be like, that sucks.
Oh, yeah. You can, so for Dream Theater, you can stop at probably with 2011, A Dramatic Turn of Events. So that was Mike Portnoy's parts, written, played by Mike Mangini.
Gotcha.
So that's where the songwriting strengths of Mike Portnoy kind of end.
Gotcha.
Love Mangini, absolute beast.
Yeah.
But just from writing parts that fit with the other members, just hasn't quite gotten that.
Yeah. And do you suppose that is, and this is obviously a broader drumming question, and music in general, but do you suppose that's from the decades of work leading up? Like Mike Portnoy obviously worked with them for so long. Do you think that was part of the thing? And do you think maybe at some point Mangini's thing will mesh with them better?
I do. I think it's starting to. I saw them at the Opry it's like March of 22. So last year they had Arch Echo opening for them.
Cool, yeah.
And definitely I'm starting to see it from the live interpretations of the studio material. I think he's now getting at a comfort level where he can do his own iterations of previous parts, of current parts, where now it feels like, in the next couple album cycles, I think they'll have truly a nice meshing of everyone there. Because they've done a whole rock opera thing. I mean, there's only so much ground they can cover without it coming back to the starting point.
Well, yeah, like I said, I really care about progressive music. I just have some of it is so cumbersome, and especially a band like Dream Theater where they have so much work. And anytime you bite off a piece of music like that, like they make when you have like 13-minute songs, like this is a commitment of time and energy because I'm not going to listen passively. I want to listen, really care about it. And it's a little daunting.
It is. But as far as, understanding that they were the torchbearers for progressive music, during those decades, who do you both, and I'll ask you, I guess, individually, whoever can answer first, who do you feel is that torchbearer now? Who is pushing
progressive music?
Yeah. Who's not from progressive music being like progressive meaning just technical, but who is actually doing something novel?
The first person that came to mind for me was Ari Honig. And that's in the jazz fusion world.
Sure.
Ari's an alien.
Mm-hmm.
He's for sure on that list. Same thing with Dan Weiss. I feel the same way about him. Obviously, like Matt Garska duh. He's clearly, he's young. He's playing some of the most technical music in the world.
Yeah, that was my answer was Animals as leaders.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
As a group. Yeah.
Yeah, as a group for sure. And it's been cool to watch them progress and be like, first it was like, well, this is like a very just Tosin and Javier. And then it was like, well, and now we have this other Matt's coming in and doing like a little bit of writing and then more and more writing and watching that evolved. And then their newest material just being like, this is not just the three of them finally all meshing the best, but also the three of them evolved so far, both in their technique and their musicality. I'm like, their most recent work is so impressive to me.
Yeah.
I know it lands,
Yeah.
I know you were at the clinic at Basement East about a year ago. Were you there as well?
I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a treat. That was really.
That was my birthday. It was
That's
a pretty
right.
good gift.
That's right. I forgot.
I had to bounce. I didn't stay for the whole thing.
What a great, just a super positive experience. My one regret of that clinic is when he was fielding questions, I should have been like, what's your max deadlift right now? I really
Yeah.
He's yoked. My God.
Yep.
He is.
He really is.
And he's a guy I've been wanting to get lessons from for a while, and it just hasn't worked out because he's busy, and he'll message me back. Yeah, we'll get together, blah, blah, blah. And it just has never happened. But really, what I should do is be like, hey man, what I really want you to teach me is how do I lift like you so consistently and then still be able to play? Sometimes after lifting, I'll just feel like destroyed. And maybe the answer is you just have to kind of do that in seasons. I don't know.
The only way out is through. Just gotta keep at it. And because wasn't he saying something about it almost would like inhibit him at a time, just the lifting. He was bulking up so much. He's like, the rate at which I can play the notes, I feel like was slightly slowed down because I was moving so much more.
More mass.
Generating more force and energy.
That's true.
It's cool, like, just hearing you guys, all of us talk about bands and drummers, and it's obvious you're like a student of the game, right? Like,
I try to be.
Which is really cool. How is that sort of informed? So bringing it back to Spirits, and it's a 3-piece. How involved are you in the songwriting process? What's that approach as the new drummer?
Sure. So kind of a timeline. I joined the band in November of 2019. So we played less than 10 shows between late 2019, early 2020. And then shutdown period, I was really just seeing those guys for months on end. And we wrote like 15, 20 songs in that time period. And I think a lot of the process just started from us jamming because the initial relationship was they had a back catalog. They released a full album in 2018. So with all the subsequent drummers that came after that founding drummer, it was, all right, these are the charts you got to learn. And we like it this way with this amount of feel. You can embellish these parts a little bit how you want. And I was still like coming out of that pop punk mindset. So I was playing everything very staccato, not the best dynamics. So like grooving with Ricky DeMeo, who as just a monster bass player and was a drummer first. So like having that connection with him, a drummer who plays bass, he's like, just groove, man. Like, I know how to groove. You listen to all these bands, like, let's actually groove. So he's definitely the most instrumental in terms of being able to just formulate song ideas. And Russell loves all the jam bands, and I feel like just rooted in improvisation, listening to bands like Humphreys McGee with him, Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
Fish, obviously.
Right.
I miss, because Russell and I went to college as well, so I miss jamming with him.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a wealth of musical
he's
knowledge.
Very, very talented. And he's the vocalist as well, lead singer.
So yeah, just being with those guys who are so much more knowledgeable about music than I could ever hope to be in so many aspects. Like, that was definitely something that I knew if I came down here, I was authentic about my intentions, about wanting to play, instrumental music with vocals, obviously thrown in the mix here and there, but having the nexus of the music being the instrumentation. That's all I could ever have asked for. And Russell and I do collaborate on lyrics together.
Oh, cool.
But we make sure that the song is like fully locked in,
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoy, bias that we're friends, but I really do enjoy seeing you guys play, but specifically you play, right? Because I think we probably all, like, whenever we go to shows as drummers, we naturally, like, kind of stare down the drummer and critique and pick up what we like, what we don't like, if anything. You're just very focused. You have a very calm demeanor about you.
I appreciate
and
that.
I wanted to just kind of get your take on, or your approach, because a lot of those parts are, you mentioned like playing an odd time. They're not like simple 4/4 grooves. Like, you're playing complex parts, right?
Yeah, I think it goes into your dedication to practicing, and a part of that is because they are parts that I've written specifically for my open-handedness, and like, I know that, if I'm a little off with that cymbal hit, there's one coming up close enough where, I'm gonna hit the splash now, wait, I'm on the hi-hat still, okay, like, so there's a little bit of wiggle room there where, there's no such thing as a perfect show. Obviously, you're gonna, look back and be like, all right, I was definitely rushing in that section. I'll try and record as much as I can. I used to take video. Now I do, just a bit of like a voice memo here and there, just so I can get a sense of what sections need to be polished.
Oh, wow. So you record every show?
Not every show.
Okay.
I've started to do it more lately, starting in practices.
Yeah.
And I think, once we have the new EP out, these are songs we don't play very often.
Yeah.
We kind of had like an A list, because we wrote 12 songs and recorded them all within the last couple of years. And so these 6 that are coming out May 19th, we do not play as often live, because we feel like there's just a lot more dynamics to them. There's some softer sections, and the bands that we typically play shows with are in like the more hard and heavy variety. So we want to showcase the energetic stuff in a live setting.
Yeah.
These songs definitely have elements. I mean, the single that's coming out May 5th, Brain Poke, that is our heaviest song yet. And so that's going to be a doozy. And just from a production standpoint, it's super raw. Yeah. We did it with our buddy Zach D'Amico over at Common Sound, or Common Man, excuse me.
Another Oneonta guy.
Another Oneonta guy.
They're taking over the city.
The network is truly wild.
Yeah.
Zach's got his head in all the right places in terms of just getting our sound. Like, he listens to bands like Daughters. We went to see Rollo Tomassi together back in September. So he knows kind of what we're getting at, more so than we probably do.
We got to get him on here. He's another really good drummer.
Absolutely.
Too. Yeah. So yeah, another segue too, because you mentioned recording. So because a lot of times especially for bigger acts, right? Like, the live drummer may not be the guy on the record, but in this case, you are doing both, right?
It is I.
Is that also, go with like your audio background? Like, how do you kind of balance the recording session drummer Perry versus rock show live?
Sure, yeah.
Interesting, because I have noticed you're pretty much nailing the drum parts. Like, when I see you guys play, it's like I'm hearing the record, which I appreciate.
Okay,
which
that's
great.
That's like,
is that a conscious decision?
Yes and no, because I'm just very precise. I try to be. Yeah. I try to make every snare hit, and even just watching you last night, you clearly have just well-intentioned snare hits, and everything is as consistent as it needs to be to serve the part.
Yeah,
and yeah, I don't know. That's how my ear has always worked. And because there's only 3 of us, if you're wailing on the snare, you're driving up everybody else's volume. Yeah. And I think I have a background in playing in theater, actually. In high school, I played in the pit for the drama club.
Nice.
So that is where I learned the art of dynamics better than I ever could have, because if I'm wailing on a drum and there's all these actors on stage, even just during like underscoring, like parts where there aren't songs taking place.
Do you remember some of those musicals that you...
Absolutely. The first one was Gypsy.
Okay.
So that was a lot of ragtime, a lot of cut time stuff from like the vaudeville era.
Wow, yeah.
So that was
that'll get your chops up.
Yeah, that was, and just like playing like these really old, like burlesque, you know, a lot of time. Just just like learning how to play sexy sounding music as a 16-year-old was, you know, interesting. The school district had some interesting
Would you describe yourself as a sexy 16-year-old?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
Far from it. Far from it. But just playing like that type of music where it was all about like vaudeville burlesque. So that was the first show I did. Then we did Putnam County Spelling Bee, which was
I got to have school did that too.
Yeah, I got to mess with some percussion with that too. Nice. So I had my kit, very similar to yours right there.
Yep.
And I had some congas, had some chimes, timbale. So loved that. So much fun.
Did you have other percussionists, or was it just you?
It was just me for that one. When we got to hair my junior year, then we had enough percussion where it required a second person. So
yeah, we did Phantom of the Opera. I think I was doing. It was me and my good buddy Scott rotated between like timpani and then everything else basically.
Absolutely.
And I did Spring Awakening in college. I don't know why I pluralized college.
We did
that was so much fun. That music's amazing.
Yeah, we didn't do a Spring Awakening show, but we did like song case. So we did Totally Fucked. We did you know some of the other ones from that show.
I had that whole playlist still on my Spotify.
So good. So good. But yeah, to get to your point about just, I guess, the level of meticulousness, I think it definitely comes from that background that I have that I really miss. I really miss playing drums in a way where I'm like not on stage, where I don't have to worry about people looking at me and I can kind of just be part of a larger production. Because that's really where I learned just to be part of a team, and just everyone from the lighting tech to, you know, all the understudies, costuming, like that's...
Yeah, I know exactly.
You go through hell together. Yeah, you really do. And once it's over, you have this depression. It's like, wow, everything we've worked so hard for, you know, a couple of weeks worth of shows, it's like, and it all ends.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I can't forget. We did Tommy, The Who.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
And Hair. That was the same, yes. Tommy and Hair the same year. Once I could like build up the trust, we had a really solid pit. I lucked out playing with some of those guys.
I wonder if there's opportunities in Nashville. I mean, there's got to be.
We got to make them.
But there's like,
we got to make a Nashville show,
a
theatrical performance. It has a rotating.
Did you ever do Mallets?
No, did not.
Yeah.
Would have loved to though. Actually, wait, that is not true. Well, I didn't do like, you're talking about like marimba vibraphone mallets?
Yeah.
No, didn't do that, but I did mallets for like crescendos on cymbals during.
Okay, no, I'm not talking about this.
No.
The actual mallets.
Somebody else who has not played marimba.
I feel like you'd pick up on it pretty quick.
You think?
Because it's right in that whole world of what we're talking about, of just like meticulous, playing exactly.
Maybe.
You know, you have to be a student to learn all those parts.
My melodicisms are lacking. I did play saxophone briefly in middle school.
Yeah.
So that was fun, but it was mostly just like orchestral concert saxophone. I didn't get to do any real jazz stuff with it.
Yeah.
So you don't really mess with anything melodic at this point?
At this point, not really. Yeah. No. And I kind of think that I should get back into it sooner or later. At least keyboard.
Yeah, I think keys are probably the way to go.
Yeah.
It's just such an easy way to write and to remind yourself how melody and harmony work. It's linear. So it's just very nice. And usually there are so many keyboards that you can just plug immediately into a DAW of some kind.
Right.
Like, okay, so I had this idea. Boom. All right, let's clean that up in here. Suddenly you have a song.
I'm at a DAW crossroads right now where I have a Mac and I've been told about Logic.
The DAW devil.
That's
Pro Tools,
but everyone else, you know, especially from just like a basic compositional, because I've been just out of the production game for so long, where everyone's like, just go to Ableton.
Ableton's fine.
User friendly.
Ableton or Logic. That's what I use.
Both are great.
Yeah.
Both are great.
Yeah.
Ableton's my buddy Tabor Mullins, who's just a fucking
Unreal.
unbelievable musician. That's what he uses is Ableton. And then my buddy Dante Friziello, who plays for Steve Vai, who's in my band Fly Information, he uses Logic. So let's get either one. For me, Logic has been so easy to jump into. Just in the last 6 months, I've been started messing around in there and going like, once I got over the initial hump of how does any of this work at all, immediately I was like, here's like a section of a song. And I just started like farting those out daily. I'm like, this is really cool. And it's so satisfying. You should, dude, bite the bullet and do it.
Okay.
I think you'll really love it.
I will say though, Logic's great. Definitely try that out. But Ableton, especially if you're like thinking of the head for the band, if you ever want to do tracks or like play to a click,
It's true.
I
you
know.
get into Ableton
Yeah.
now, and then you have that asset.
The guys and I have this conversation every now and then about playing along the tracks, and like you guys clearly do it flawlessly. It's part of your rehearsal, I'm sure, just like knowing when everything is queued up. But there's something about the three of us just being cued into each other that I don't want to compromise. None of us really do, and we're kind of worried
totally
about
understand.
what that would.
I get that. There's especially in a jammy type situation, you don't want to sacrifice that like almost psychic connection you have to the other people. Like listening so intently to what the bass and guitar are doing. We're playing off each other. Like somebody's going to signal in some way that we're coming to a head on this section and we're going to the next section. And I don't want to miss that. And I want to train myself to never be able to miss that.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. When you have a track built, you do sacrifice that.
Yep.
So it's a different kind of strength that you get from working with that stuff, and you get an ease of use, an ease of playing. Like, okay, so this is exactly how the show is going to go. We're going to do the thing. We're going to be able to nail this thing. All we just need to do is perform these parts, and we can improvise within that. But this is going to be the length of the tunes. The exact length. Here's the exact tempo. We have little count-ins. Betrayal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, okay. But
Now, was that something, because you were not the first drummer of Crusade, right?
I was not.
Okay.
No, I'm the second one.
But that was something that was already in place upon your arrival, or?
There were not. We had, when we were first doing the thing, it was just me listening to a click track in my ears and keeping time for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then switching the click between songs quickly on my phone. Like, oh, okay. Oh, the app crashed. Oh, shoot. Okay. Okay. 185. Like, okay. But now, only in the last 8 months have we been fully on.
Gotcha.
On the click on everything, which has been so awesome. We've had the in-ear monitor rig. That it's been a game changer to not have to count everyone in or keep time for everything. Like, there are moments that are so nice if it's just ambient sounds, and not a hi-hat or a stick click. Like, that's like ruining the vibe. Okay, but we're still perfectly on this thing, and we can wait, and then okay, it's exactly 8 beats, and then we're coming in together. That's great. Mm-hmm. That feels really good.
Yeah, there's definitely advantages to both. So I'll bring it up at the next band meeting, only for it to get shot down by Ricky. No,
I'll put a bug in his ear at work.
Yeah,
no need. But really, I think the reason you should get Ableton is because clearly, since you're living in Nashville, eventually you'll be playing country music with an artist. That's the goal, of course.
Of course.
And so you should just get Ableton so that you can run their tracks.
Everyone that can't see Nate's face right now.
Did you get? By the way, before you moved here, did you get that question?
Absolutely.
So, you're going to play country music now?
And I didn't say no. I didn't rule it out immediately because I didn't know what was going to happen. I know I was going to meet two guys that I would gel with musically. Yeah. I was definitely coming in with an open mind saying, whoever I'm going to meet, I'm going to meet. And if they need a drummer, I'm going to be as available as I can make myself. And, just be a team player.
Good for you, man.
But
that's a great attitude to come at the city.
I think it's the one to have. I think if you come in here, you're closed off, and it's like I'm fighting that New Yorker in me, where it's like I don't want to be, sticking my nose up at people, and I mean, country music means a lot to the city, and it means a lot to people who live here,
right? And
we wouldn't be here if that wasn't the foundation of what everything that was built on.
Such a great point.
So. Shout out to country.
Yeah.
Real country.
Yeah. Hey, there we go. Shout out to real country for sure.
My grandpa, there's a fun family video of us all covering Wabash Cannonball, John Cash. Yeah. So it was around. I just never, I guess, gravitated towards it from a drummer. But yeah, my grandpa loved it, had a banjo. So, nice. It worked its way in.
Dude.
Subconsciously, one way or another.
That stuff still trips my trigger. I'm like, yep, you put on Johnny whenever, and I'm into it. It's different than a lot of the newer stuff. Obviously, it's just
so much of that music is just timeless. And like you said, like it means so much to so many people, not in just Nashville, but there's a reason for it.
Yep. Can't just willy-nilly throw it out.
Right. But that being said, if you held a gun to my head and said you have to play in a bluegrass band or a country band, I'm picking bluegrass.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that, I
like. Hot take.
Wait, the country gig pays really... Yeah, but I want to play bluegrass. Yeah. Bluegrass is just sick.
It is. And there's now these genres that are coming out that are like incorporations of thrash metal into bluegrass.
Oh, yeah. You like Iron Horse?
Iron Horse and the Native Howl.
Oh, I haven't heard them yet.
Yeah. There's a YouTube series called No Cover. It was run by Sumerian, I want to say. And basically all original acts performed at the Whiskey or the Viper Room in L.A. in front of a panel of judges consisting of Tosin Abasi, Lizzie Hale, Alice Cooper, Gavin Rossdale, and the fifth is a singer-songwriter. I can't remember. But just like wide array of personalities. And the winning band was this thrashgrass band from Michigan called the Native Howl, where it was just like mandolin shredding, but double bass and really cool sounding stuff.
Well, I mean, as far as like progressive bluegrass is concerned, you could just go straight to the top of the mountain and listen to the Punch Brothers.
That's very true.
That's like, it doesn't get more progressive than that. Those guys, the technique there is truly undeniable. I just saw Chris that's what I was in New York to do. And he completely ripped my mind from my body. There really is. Jacob Collier said it during the show. He's like, I've played music with all kinds of people and creatures in my life.
I love Nate's.
But there's no creature quite like Chris Thiele. I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Anything that Jacob came up with, any crazy rhythm or idea, instantaneously Chris would comprehend it and be able to play it back. I'm like, that's impossible. No one can do that with that guy, especially with that guy. But that's that psychic connection, but at such a like ridiculous level. That's impossible. I started laughing, and that's only happened to me a few times. That happened to me with another guy. Do you know where Howard Levy is?
I do not.
He plays harmonica and keys, and he plays for Bela Fleck and the Flecktones.
Oh, sure.
So he played a show at Rudy's, and he starts talking to the audience, and then suddenly Roy Wooten's there, front row, and he's like, "Hey, man, do the thing where you play from both sides." And he goes, "Haha, Roy would like me to play an unaccompanied harmonica solo," and he proceeds to play Bach on the harmonica.
Oh my gosh!
Like playing the bass line on one side and playing the melody on the other side. I'm like,
get out of here!
Wow.
Is there a video of this?
There's got to be. I just started laughing. I'm like, that's impossible. No one can do that. You can't do that. That's how I felt watching Chris. I'm like,
sure,
that's impossible. I just started. I am dreaming, because that's not a thing humans can do, right? But yeah. Anyway, progressive bluegrass.
Perry, have you had a reaction like Nate's describing to a drummer to a band, maybe?
Oh, absolutely, all the time. I mean, I guess the last real experience, I know there's ones coming up that I'm going to have them, so I'll talk about those because May 2nd, if you're in Nashville and you're a drummer, go to Mastodon and Gojira.
Yes.
Just, you're not going to see Bron Daler and Mario Duplantier together at their peak. Not that they're falling off at all, because they're still incredible drummers, but I don't know how many tours you'll get the two of them in the same room together.
I wanted to ask you how you feel about Mario. Because
Super Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his practice methods where he's just doing, an hour straight of just,
reading a book. I love
so
that.
Casual.
That's the way. Have you seen these videos, Dan?
No.
He will copy and paste the comment because he posted it several times. He's like, this is my method. I play this single stroke roll with my feet. It's fairly fast too. For an hour a day, every day.
Yeah.
And he'll just read a book and keep time with one hand.
It's effortless.
It was that's how I keep my technique intact.
Wow.
And to me, he's for sure top 5 as far as metal and taste is concerned. I love everything that guy plays.
It is so incredibly groovy and so incredibly locked in. And the fact that those 4 guys have been the founding members, no lineup changes since 2001? No, not that early. I have no idea. When did they form?
Dude, I don't even know. But I got to say, in this conversation, it has made me so excited to come and see you play. Just the sheer massive influences that I'm like, man.
You're not gonna hear Gojira in Spirits Republic for sure. I would say Mastodon more so, just because there is that southern rock element to it. There's that bluesiness to it. We have some sludginess to us. I'd say Primus. Out of the 3 of us,
Primus, yes.
Let's go.
We saw Primus last summer at Ryman, and that was. I mean, they played Rush too, so
Did you happen to catch them when they did the Willy Wonka thing?
I didn't.
I'm so sad.
So sad I missed it.
Man, that's 2 of my favorite things in one place. Primus and Willy Wonka.
I missed them on the tour with Mastodon too, and I think Every Time I Die was opening that one, so I'm doubly sad.
I don't know about you. I've been a pretty terrible offender as far as missing great shows that were in my area. Steely Dan played. I'm like, well, great. I know they're still touring, but there's no Walter Becker. He's dead. I'll never get to see real OG Steely Dan. It's impossible. One of the guys is dead. One of the 2 guys. It's just Donald Fagen now.
Yeah.
It's going to be great, but it won't be the full thing.
No, and I think we can all probably look back and be like, coulda, woulda, shoulda, had if I known what I had known now. But I think the fact that I got to see Rush in 2015 at Madison Square Garden makes up for all of the times that I could have seen other bands.
What was that like?
That was life-changing. That was, even though it was $150 to sit up in the nosebleeds on the side angle. But honestly, the side angle was great to watch Neil. You could really just see his hands going and everything. Yeah. But they did, reverse order, starting with Clockwork Angels stuff and working backwards all the way to, Working Man. And that was a life-changing show.
Yeah, he's one of my top 5 easily.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Neil? Oh, yeah.
Somehow I never knew that.
Yeah.
Dan,
I don't talk about him a lot, but
you don't talk about yourself enough.
It's about the guest.
I bought, the current kit that I'm playing, the Yamaha Stage Custom, I bought off the floor at Forks the day after he passed away.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I remember my sister was in town visiting, and I was starting to get more consistent shows with Spirits. I was like, I should probably get a kit, because I still had my kit up in New York at the time, and I wasn't going to get it down in time. So I'd been to Forks a few times, met Marshall and the guys over there.
Yeah.
Just to get sticks and heads and stuff. I was like, today feels like the right day to get my first Nashville drum kit.
Yeah.
So
it's a special story.
I'll have that story.
Yeah, that's cool. I want to go back to something quick that you were mentioning, practice routines. I'm curious just what your practice approach is for this kind of music. I know you're in some other projects as well, right? Away from Spirits.
Yeah, I have an alternative rock project with my former college roommate, Nashville roommate, Brendan Wimberly, and that's called Greener Side. So we recorded a demo for that back in 2019, and the first EP has all been mixed and is still getting mastered. We recorded those songs 3 years ago. We just haven't found the right time because both of us are just all over the place.
Yep.
But he's actually coming into Nashville for our friend's wedding next month. So
Nice.
I'm going to just strap him to a chair and be like, what needs to be done to get these parts ready and out there? Because I'm ready for the world to hear this.
Yeah.
So that's definitely more on like the punk alternative side.
Mm-hmm.
Bands like Seosin and God, who else? The two of us. A little bit of Blink here and there.
Okay,
A little bit
Incubus.
of Incubus. Oh yeah, sure. And Russell loves Incubus too.
Oh,
so I feel
know.
like that
Yeah.
worked its way into both projects.
Mhm.
But yeah, Greener Side is definitely the other project that's on the horizon. As far as practice methods go,
Yeah,
just trying.
what are you doing to kind of stay fresh with some of this stuff and, stay on top of this, the progressive scene?
Sure. So I don't live where my drum kit lives. Drum kit lives at Russell's and Frida's house.
Yeah,
So
see, that's-
I do have a key.
That's a
to get
rarity.
there.
I mean, I feel like most of us in this town are either doing storage units or we're, doing
Yep.
practice at the house or something.
So that being said, I do have an Alesis electronic kit that I will, just take to when I have the time. I have my practice pads if I'm just trying to brush up on rudiments here and there.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I have like a formal method where I'm going to sit down, put on a metronome and do that, but I'll start off just trying to play along to a song just to like psych myself up and I'll be like, okay, what about that sucked?
Yeah.
Because your feet were not lining up, because you're tense too much, just like little things here and there, and then focusing on the elements individually.
I like that approach. It's almost like you're going reverse. Like, let me start with, like, the end result's always going to be like you're playing the music.
Right.
Right. So let's start there. And like you said, it gets you hyped as well,
Yeah.
which is important.
Are you recording yourself doing that as well?
I was initially, I haven't in a while. I know I need to get back to it because I think game film is huge,
Dude.
especially from football playing, watching, and all that. Yeah, essential.
Jets fan, right?
It's honestly, that is one of the things that has lacked in my own practice routine. And now that I've begun to incorporate it more regularly, I'm like, there's no substitute. Just like in martial arts, there's no substitute for sparring.
Mm-hmm.
Like you learn the techniques and then you get in the ring with somebody who's not going to try to knock your head off.
Fair.
Right. They're going to push you. And that's how you grow. And on this thing, you can do that by shedding with another drummer.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also do that by playing and recording that and listening and watching back. And it just is such a game changer.
Even if it's just a cell phone video, right?
Yes.
Anything.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a full multicam, mixed to the bone.
Lowest barrier to entry just put your phone up. Even if it's not even video, even just audio, being able to
I do a
hear.
lot of that. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
a lot of voice memo stuff just because I'm such an OCD. Like, I went to school for, media production. So I'm like, I don't like how this angle looks. I can't see what my hands are doing.
Yeah.
So
I'm the same way.
it's like, by the time I'm like, wow, it's already been 15, 20 minutes that I could have spent playing drums. And I'm here fiddling with camera angles.
I know. Yeah. I hate
White
that.
balancing. So
Yeah, you could definitely push it too far where it's you're missing the point.
Yeah.
Like you said, just the lowest barrier to entry and just that game footage is a good analogy to sports.
I definitely will before this show on the 20th because
Yeah.
we're playing so many songs that we only touch in practice. And I think just knowing what they're going to feel like live is going to be an entirely new ball game. There's one song that reminds us of Steely Dan. There's one song that reminds us of like Paul Simon. I don't know.
Yeah.
From just our levels of
There's always a
grand
good balance.
influence.
Like you have like the one, maybe more than one song that has like the obvious breakdown.
It's fair. Yeah. Matter of Fact has that kind of just like very flowy, I'm doing just kind of just straight little like dotted triplets on the ride, just little bell hits here and there. And there's one bell hit that summons the breakdown.
Summons.
And, yeah.
as bell hits should.
Yeah. Not quite a Zill bell. We're not talking like 2009 metalcore here.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
That's homie last night had one.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I need to go get a bell.
Right?
It does.
Yeah, you do.
There's nothing quite like that.
No.
It's like you have
The
I have
tiniest little noise will now summon the
violence.
biggest,
Yes.
exactly.
Like it's gonna make the biggest, heaviest stuff that's gonna make the pit move. I'm like, yes, from such humble beginnings. Ding. Oh, it's time to hurt the guy next to me.
Yeah, it's like, do you go with the bell attachment or do you go with a mega bell ride at that point?
I mean, that depends on what kind of mood you're in. You know, what meal did you have? What did you have for breakfast?
Yeah.
Well, I had eggs. Well, mega bell ride should be fine for you. Well, I had porridge. Oh. Well, you're gonna need just a bell on its own.
Check for some bears at your place too if you're eating porridge.
Eating porridge. What is porridge exactly? Is it like look? No one knows what porridge is.
Is it not oatmeal? What is it?
It can be a lot of things.
Okay, switching gears quick, because you're still involved in the industry, right? You're
so I'm actually
fiber as well.
I'm pivoting. So
okay.
music licensing is done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I know you had a chapter with ASCAP.
Well, yeah, I interviewed with them. I never got hired there.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, so I thought I was going to do that whole music business track, which I guess I still ended up doing, but
yeah,
I mean not with like legal and sync. And
fair.
all that, but.
Yeah. So my first job out of college, I was working for a production library out on Long Island called Omni Music. It's not around anymore. It was bought out by APM, but the president of that company sat on the board of ASCAP as the writer co-chair. And, that was always on my radar as far as just like, I knew nothing about licensing. I wanted to work with songwriters and help them get paid. Mm-hmm. And did that for 3.5 years. And, sales, customer service, just not a lot of room for growth and advancement. So now I'm kind of in a transitional period where I'm starting to do some more like promotions, marketing, social media management. So I'm now a promotions assistant over at Cromwell Media, which is the company that owns 102.9 The Buzz and 102.5 The Game. So getting back to my broadcast roots a little bit.
Dude, that's so awesome. Congrats.
Yep.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, I know you told me that you were transitioning.
It's new. I haven't told many people.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe by the
now
time this
people will
airs,
know.
it'll be... Have you started the gig already? Or
It's going to start next month.
Okay, next month. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that.
Dude, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that radio station. They've played Spirits a couple times, met Andy Heron over at Grunge Night. Super nice guy. Great drummer, too. So that's kind of my professional status at the moment. But yeah, it's like I'm going to be 30 next year. I'm turning 29 in a month. So I'm like, I need to do more. I need to try out other roles within the music world because I feel like that's how we learn, just putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and seeing what we can get out of them. So
yeah, I love that.
I like being out in the community. I felt like, with the licensing thing, it was fully remote the last 3 years. The office on Music Row has been vacant. They're looking to sell it. And I just had no connection with anyone I was working
just
with.
behind the computer. Right?
Yeah. So I was just a rectangle on a screen to these people.
Yeah.
So anything to get out of that, I'm willing to take on.
Yeah. Describe your experience, whether it's, the new gig, but also your previous gig, like, the 9-to-5 life and then being a drummer, how that has been. Because I know, I feel this definitely being 9-to-5 too, and like trying to balance that with drumming. And sometimes it's kind of looked down upon, I feel like, in this town.
Sure.
It's like, oh, well, why aren't you out on tour? What's going on? Like,
well,
have you experienced any of that?
I have not, only because I feel like it's still, even though this band has been around since 2016, the three of us have only been together since 2019, and we lost 1.5 years of that. So much of it is just us, knowing that we all have jobs that we have to supply income for to keep this project going. We're not going on long runs as much as we would like to. And, we all have, relationship obligations, and I got a puppy in early January. So that's been keeping me.
Cutest puppy.
Yeah, Riley's great. And even just like...
What kind of dog?
She's a border collie mutt mix. She has like probably 15 different breeds in her, but we rescued her from Music City Animal Rescue. Shout out to them.
This often is the case. Is she real smart?
Smarter than me and my fiance combined, we're convinced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that I've noticed that to be obviously border collies in general, but then mutts. And I think that's probably like, well, dogs are supposed to be pretty smart, but a lot of them are just really inbred, and so they're stupid.
Right. So, yeah, we knew that we wanted a rescue. The story of how we got her was we were over at Blackstone Brewing, which I've also started to do social media for them part-time.
Nice.
So go follow Blackstone Brewing, oldest brewery in Nashville. And yeah, so there was a litter of puppies there, like right around Christmas. And we met them. We got really close with the foster folks, and the owners of Blackstone had adopted a puppy of their own from that litter. So we're like, all the signs are there that this should be the puppy that we get, because we were initially just going to go into Nashville Humane and just, see which dog would gravitate towards us. But the fact that we got to actually form a bond with one, yeah. But back to the 9 to 5 shtick. As long as you're making the most of those hours where you are drumming, I think the three of us in Spirits, we've all come from the mutual understanding that we can only get together so many times a week now with the three of our schedules. So we're not wasting time. We're getting together, we're tuning up, we're jamming for the first 15, 20 minutes, we're recording everything. Yeah. All the jams are recorded, all the practices are recorded. Russell has the Pro Tools set up just in his music room. He bounces the files out to us on Google Drive, literally as we're driving home from practice. So I'll listen to him that night. I'll make mental notes. And yeah, I think you got to make it work for yourself. I don't think there's a right or wrong method, where you have to be 100% all in, or you're not a real drummer, or, you're doing it just as a side hobby because it brings you joy. I think drumming is drumming, and the world's changing and drummers are changing. Yeah. So we got to just enjoy the human aspect of it before AI comes in, and then we're all listening to procedurally produced gent for 10 hours.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. I have nightmares about that. Well, I don't think doing music full time is, it should be obvious to say, but it's literally not for everyone. Not everyone would be good in that situation. Not everyone would be like emotionally healthy in that situation. And there is a pressure to ones, especially once you've invested a lot of time in it. Like, well, yeah, I should probably do this for a living. Yeah. But I had a friend, in the parking lot, I was on the phone with a friend and student who was just informing me, we haven't talked in a while. She was like, I'm not going to pursue music full time. I don't want to do that for a living. And she was like, I want to start lessons again. And I'm actually really excited to do that. I'm actually really fired up. I want to go ground up with this whole thing. I'm like, that's awesome. Like the actual, sometimes pursuing that as a full-time thing it's not just unwise. It'll immediately suck the joy out of it.
Yeah. That's just it.
Some people can, obviously.
Yeah,
I'm someone that
totally agree.
I just like to keep my brain doing multiple things actively. And obviously drumming is a very cerebral art form, as we know. So I feel like if that's my one end all and be all, I don't know. I've never done it. It terrifies me. The thought of just dropping everything and just doing that as the one activity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kudos to y'all who can. That's incredible. And I'll have the utmost respect forever, because I know something, granted I never tried it, so I can't say that it's something that wouldn't serve me in the long term. But I think knowing myself well enough and just knowing the commitments that I've made leading up to this point.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get a certain sense of fulfillment serving others in the industry through these different gigs.
Absolutely.
Right. Which is, at a certain point, drumming is entertainment and it's fun and it's amazing. But, for people that are skilled in other areas, that's just as rewarding.
And I love even being more than just the drummer in a band. I love graphic design. I love social media, so working on album artwork, setting up podcast dates and interviews and press releases. I just like getting my hands dirty in as many different areas.
Yeah. Love that in the same way.
Well,
sure.
I love too, and this is like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're good.
A lot of times we'll like to ask a guest how they balance certain things in their lives with the music thing, but the way you're describing it makes it very obvious. You're like,
Google calendars.
This is like, I keep it balanced. That's your whole thing.
I've always kept it balanced. I mean, even when I was in middle school, I was still making sure I had good grades and just, keeping everything as tight as possible. Yeah. And I guess in many aspects that was because drumming was my reward for doing well. Like, it's not like my parents would punish me if I wasn't doing well, but I just felt like I had to prove to myself that, school was important, get into the college program that I was looking for. Granted, I'm not really doing much, although, I mean, if things come into terms with the radio station in a greater capacity more than just the promotion side, that would be fantastic. But I think I just knew that I wanted the foundation of just making connections in the media world. And drumming has always been the thing that has brought me the greatest amount of self-confidence. And I lost that in college at the end. I had definitely some nervous breakdowns and some panic attacks in my junior and senior years when I'm like, you're not doing the thing that makes you you. Like, you're playing with friends casually, but there's no greater dedication beyond that. Like, So once I came to terms with that, swallowed my pride, moved back home for 3 years to save up to move to Nashville, that was when I really felt like I dove into the deep end of just practicing hard, listening to challenging music, going to shows, meeting people, watching other drummers drum in a live setting, and being a sponge.
Yeah.
Because you can learn something from every drummer.
Yeah.
Especially being an open-handed weirdo, like even just watching how someone who does cross their sticks accents and does the little nuances here and there.
Just ran into Tavion in the parking lot. He's here practically every day, and that was his big thing, is to be that sponge and be open-minded. 'Cause yeah, you can learn so much from other drummers, from other people.
My drum teacher growing up, shout out Joe Vivaro. You're probably not listening because you don't know how the internet really works, but that's fine.
We'll email you this interview.
Yeah, there you go. He was my first drum teacher and really definitely, I guess, my only like true teacher as far as just creating set instructions on how to practice. His drum teacher was Joe Morello of Dave Brubeck.
Wow.
So he had me doing take 5 at like 9, 10 years old. And I was tearing up because I was frustrated that I couldn't conceptualize how to count into 5.
Yeah.
And then Blue Rondo in 9.
Look at you now, though. It's like, that makes sense. So you were doing that at such a young age.
Trial by fire.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful that he did put me through those tests, because it was only when I stopped taking lessons with him consistently, I began the self journey into drumming, where I'm playing because I want to get better, not because I feel like I have to, so my teacher doesn't yell at me.
Right. Right. So you had that little bit of that whiplash.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to get good or else.
Yeah, never had a stand or a chair chucked at my head yet.
Yep.
So hopefully.
I had a friend, my friend Al Cathy, back in my hometown, but he's a really good bass player. But I remember he had students, and he told me he's like, well, my rule is like, a lot of times I won't even charge them. Sometimes I'll only charge them if they haven't practiced. Like,
that's good.
What a cool thing. Obviously, that's not for everyone, because some people are trying to actually make money at the whole teaching thing. But he had his own gig. He was like, I'm just teaching because I like teaching.
That's great.
I'm like, yeah, they show up, and sometimes they'll be like, yeah, okay, $45. like, oh, but that's a great incentive.
It is.
Soft incentive. You're like, okay, I owe you money, and I really could have spent 20 minutes a day working on the one thing you had me to work on for this week. That's not a big chunk of my life.
Right. My fiance, who's currently in the middle of getting a PhD, has also asked me to teach her drums. And I'm like, how much time do you want me to teach you the rudiments and breaking down? She's like, I just want to learn how to play a song. I'm like, well, I can teach you the way that I know would be beneficial. And we talked about this. We were actually at an event with Drew Marshall. So I was like, Drew,
love that guy. Love you, buddy.
Drew, how do I explain to Alex that you can't really just go into playing a song?
How's her coordination? Like, does she have a basic?
I put a metronome on for her. I'm just like, just kick and snare. Just like, show me that you can have, the level of timing there. So I think once she completes the PhD, she'll have a bit more time.
Wait, you're saying the dog is smarter than the two of you? I'm not buying that.
Yeah.
Drummer,
That's a
PhD.
smart
At
dog.
only 7 months old, what she's capable of, and just her
This dog's
curiosity. Yeah.
And evil.
Yeah, chat GPT.
This is my own headcanon for your dog. Your dog is evil.
Yeah.
Like, seems very sweet, but plotting.
Yeah.
Nothing that smart and furry and beautiful could ever be good.
Absolutely.
This next segment is sponsored by the Nashville Humane Society.
Music City Animal Rescue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're great.
Man, I just really appreciate you sharing that. Your perspective on that, I think, is really healthy, and it's a good reminder for people, for me especially, just like because it's so easy to get caught up in the perception and just like, oh, like, you know, what people are thinking and like what you should do and what you're doing and what your goals are and stuff like that. But it sounds like for you, it's almost like back to the joy of how we all started playing this instrument. It's like jamming with buddies, being in a band, playing original music or covers, whatever.
Right.
And it's cool hearing like it's like you're living out your dream. Like you're 3 best friends and playing great music. Like you said, it's not huge stadiums by any means. It's not long runs, but you guys are making
you're
really
doing
good
it
music.
right, and you're doing
for the
it
joy.
consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
and that's
that's
what's important.
the biggest part is, you know, obviously we want to get to that level where we can go on a weekend run here and there and have a band, you know, look at us and say, hey, those guys are pretty cool. Let's bring them out for a few weeks and see what they can do. I think that's the next logical step. As far as, you know, the strategy of knowing when to book the shows, who to book the shows with, and which cities at which time. We played a show in Murfreesboro back on Saturday with the band Tijuana Bible, and they have members from the Louisville area growing up. So I was like, hey guys, why don't we do something up in Louisville the weekend of Louder Than Life, just to like try and be intentional with the bookings and not just taking every show that's offered.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we're at. The 3 of us really want to just strategize and capitalize wherever makes the most sense.
Careful, man. You're talking like a full-time player.
I know. I know.
Oh, we got to figure out how to let's start doing some runs. Oh, yeah. Oh, weekend. 2 weeks wouldn't be bad. Uh-oh. Next time we have you on, you'll be like,
Yeah, right.
oh, I just got out of 3-monther. No big deal. Like, oh, man.
He's got 3 puppies.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But it's fine because they can be on the bus. With my
They're
wife,
driving the
With my
bus.
wife, who's a doctor.
Yeah. And a drummer at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alex is great. Yeah.
Yeah. She
I
says
actually
hi.
ran into the 2 of you and the puppy. Where was that? We were walking.
That was outside Barcelona.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was the first time seeing the dog.
Yeah. That was off. God, that must have been
Is that
even like,
Valentine's? I think it was.
yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
That's already like 3 months ago, basically.
Dig and drill, cut your way out.
Some wrap up questions.
Let's do it, man.
All right, I'll kick us off. What was the last book you read?
Oof. The last book I read was, I believe it's called Knowledge Darts. It's by, so there's a comedian duo, Dita Samaro from New York. And it's God Level Knowledge Darts. And it's just like a combination of their stories of just like growing up in the Bronx, you know, just getting into all sorts of trouble and the life lessons that you learn from that. So not music related at all. Not really. I don't know. I like to just laugh when I read. I think it's funny when words on a page jump out to you and you're just laughing at nothing audible.
Right.
So I like that one. I did go back to the Jurassic Park audiobook last summer.
Cool.
So it wasn't the most recent one, but that's just one. I'm a Michael Crichton guy. So
I've been meaning to read that because my dad, when we watched Jurassic Park, obviously that's considered one of the greatest films. Have you seen Jurassic Park, Dan?
I have, yeah.
Okay, thank God. I was going to say, let's stop this now and I'm not even going to go play downtown. I'm going to cancel. They'll understand. Listen, my business partner's never seen Jurassic Park. But before we watched it, I remember my dad, when I was a kid, being like, he's like, yeah, this movie is great. He's like, but the book is so much better.
it's crazy.
I'm like, oh, okay. I just saw a few things pop up about it recently on TikTok about the baby scene. And I was like, well, this is disturbing. Anyway, we won't go any further on that.
Yeah,
but,
can't spoil it for those who haven't read it.
but I intend to read that in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay. My question for you. which I stole from Tim Ferriss. And I say every time I ask it, I want to credit him with that. What in the last year has been your favorite purchase under $100?
Favorite purchase under $100 in the last year would have to be I know it's going to sound like it was more than $100, but it wasn't. So I'd never been to Europe before. And last summer, my fiance and I did a little trip. We went to London, Amsterdam, Antwerp, Belgium, and Paris.
Wow.
And actually, I'm going to change my answer. It was the bag of mushrooms that we got in Amsterdam and tripped in Vondel Park and had the best day ever. I played drums later that day. There was a jam happening at the Bourbon Street Bar in Amsterdam. And I was, obviously, it was hours after the fact. Everything had worn off. I was like, I'm going to say that I tripped on mushrooms in Amsterdam and played drums on a Monday night.
That is incredible.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Amazing answer. Yeah. Okay, I don't know if you've heard the news. Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. You're a big Jets fan.
The news.
Yeah. Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I will say it's funny. Just
I got the
drums
Jets
and
green for you, by the way.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's usually red.
Is it?
Yeah, so red or orange. You know, it's our colors.
Fair enough.
But for you, Perry.
I would say I have an interesting relationship with the Jets and drumming. I think just being frustrated on most Sunday afternoons has led me to beat the crap out of drums so many times.
How many Jets fans are now drummers? Yeah, there's probably a statistic out there.
Yeah, so
it's too funny.
Needless to say, just win. Just give us some wins.
Yeah,
I know you want to.
On the field.
Yeah, I know you want to win. I know you're happy now that you're out of the Green Bay situation.
Yeah. But spoiler alert, he'll win.
He'll win.
Yeah, he's a hell of a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean,
then somehow he'll get to the AFC Championship, but have to play the San Francisco 49ers? It's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited to hopefully see some great young play. They just have such a young core with Sauce Gardner on defense.
Yeah.
Gary Wilson. Are you a football guy? I know you've talked about basketball a lot on this podcast.
That's
we have
only because, and I literally, and I'm not like a sports hater by any stretch, but I just don't give a shit.
Okay.
The reason basketball has come up over and over is because of Kobe and because of Steph Curry and like just sheer work ethic and the way that they think about the game. I think is applicable, and I'm like, okay, that I can relate to.
The mental fortitude that basketball players have.
Yes.
It's so much more of an individualized effort.
Yes. But that's, I'm not, but I absolutely know who Aaron Rodgers is.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, and finally, where would you like people to find you?
People out there, you can follow me individually at Perry Dorney on Instagram. Follow the band Spirits Republic Music. Follow Greener Side as well, because we're going to have some stuff coming up later on this year as far as releases go. And thank you both so much for having me on.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nashville Drummers Podcast. If you've enjoyed these podcasts, please consider supporting us on Patreon. For $5 a month, you can help support this dream and keep the ball rolling for us. Believe it or not, it's not free or even necessarily cheap for us to make this thing go. To sign up, go to patreon.com/Nashville Drummers Podcast or click the link in our Instagram bio. All of your help is greatly appreciated.
Check out our new website, NashvilleDrummersPodcast.com. And if you're not already following us on Instagram, you can follow us at Nashville Drummers Podcast.
This episode was recorded at Diamond Sound Studios located in Nashville, Tennessee.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.